Brian, the truck you got, you're not.
Girl, I hated driving it, so I gave it to my husband.
And you got something else?
No, I switched cars with him.
I love big trucks though.
You do? I hit everything and anything.
That's what I was doing.
I had a Titan, one of those big ones.
Oh, I had one of those. I had a blue one. I love it. It was different.
It's in Walmart. I was like, babe.
I love it.
And then I got a Pilot.
Yeah.
I love the Pilot.
Yeah. I have a blue one. I'm like, you know how they have a short one? The XL, I was like, no, get me an XL. Yeah. Yeah, I'm saying something.
I'm not a skilled driver. I have to recognize that. What are you doing, Mr.
I drove a Beetle, a Volkswagen old car.
And what did you think about the Beetle? My daughter had a Beetle.
Commander just got served notice. Commander just got served notice. He's recording me right now. Hold on, I gotta record him too. Oh, come on, put your phone back up. I already got it on video, bro. He just got served for his 2 DWIs while on the board. Oh, okay. Sorry. Bye,
Rocking and rolling,
It's a beautiful day. We got a lot of
You're going like a couple of back there. Oh, it like loops around.
I know
$20 days to respond, Mondo. 20 days. 20 days. You should probably get better attorney than Tomas.
what happened? She's telling us
Thank you very well. Thank you.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
We're all kind of just,
Yeah.
Are we doing a matching?
We talked on the phone, I think, a week or two when you called through.
Is it finance or HR?
When breakers are awesome.
¿Sí o no? I know. Hi, too.
Y'all ready? I'm calling this special board meeting, the Canadillo Board of Trustees, to order. The time is 5:30 and the date is March 18th, 2025. At this time, I'll hand it over to Adrian to call roll, and from there, the next agenda.
Item 1B, roll call. Ms. Barnes.
Present.
Ms. Borrego.
Present.
Ms. Maldonado.
Present.
Mr. Martinez.
Here.
Mrs. Ortega.
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Present.
Ms. Zuniga.
Here.
Item number 2, open forum. Any person wishing to address the board during the period reserved for public comment at a board meeting must sign up to be heard in accordance with district policy BED local. Each participant will be limited to 3 minutes to make comments to the board. The board is not permitted to discuss or act over any issues that are not posted on the agenda for tonight's meeting. For further information on these policies, contact the superintendent's administrative assistant. And Mr. President, we do have one audience member that signed up for tonight's meeting, Ms. Carol Cassidy, and she will be speaking in regards to the budget presentation.
Go ahead, Ms. Carol.
Oh, is it now? Oh, okay, thank you.
Well, hi there, folks, and glad to see all of you good people here. I'll tell you, the beauty of living in Texas is that I can speak. In Seattle, Washington, my former state, I could not do this. I mean, the Democratic control is so outrageous. They don't allow people like myself to speak. Even at the legislature, I would go in faithfully with a lot of families from all over that state, from the San Juan Islands, etc., and they would tell us, sorry, the billet's filled up, you can't speak because you have power through the name of Jesus. Look, this district has a debt. You guys have to take a look. It's on the Bond Review Board, Texas Bond Review Board. $170 million is the debt that's listed for this little district. What are you? Barely 6,000 kids. Your debt for, I believe, this year, 2025, is you have a $2.7 million shortfall for your budget. You guys have to understand it's debt that collapses a city, a county, a state, a nation. Of course, this nation is tottering right now. Thank God for President Trump in there with Doge. They are starting a Doge in Austin, if you don't know. It has to come about. People like me are not here to lament anybody here. It's to go to the legislature because that's where we'll have some effect. They have to understand how dire it is for all of Texas, all of the schools, districts, public school districts. Your superintendent here, a very nice, sweet man, being paid more money than the President of the United States. His salary right now is approximately $407,000. My God, folks, that's what it is. I don't know what the pension, the additional of the pension. Anyway, you need to pay attention. The good people that live in this district, and they are wonderful good people. That's what I love. I love all of El Paso County. All these beautiful people that are here working so hard. The median salary for El Paso County is what? 41,000, maybe 45,000. That's median. And all of the administrators for 9 school districts, and all of the 9 school districts for El Paso County have massive school debts, not just yours. Anyway, I've said enough. I'm happy to see all of you here. Of course, please understand it is debt. So we are in prayer. My little Republican Ladies Club, we are prayer warriors. We pray for all of our first responders, our great El Paso Police Department, all that are here. Doing their best to keep this community safe with all the cartels that are, of course, all over the place, I'm sure, the gangs, etc. But anyway, understand, in the name of Jesus, I reach out to all of you in love and hoping, paying attention to the dance. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Item number 3, board workshop. Item 3A, board workshop presentation. Presenters, the administration team.
Here we go. I'm going to look for more kinder words. Yes, I told you so. A kinder version of, because it's hard last year, every time you're facing a deficit or that, you're talking about bodies. It's not fun. It's not fun looking at someone you work with say, we gotta let you go. So, and again, we said that 3 years ago, and we're here today, and we need to deal with this today. And you can either be the board that does, the board that, like Mountain Dew commercial, the board that does, or the board that doesn't. As our sister district across has 2 conservators. One is for governance, one is for mismanagement of finance. So again, like that conservator told them, the one that's in charge of governance, you're either going to do it or I'm going to do it. Because that's your role as the board, is to balance the budget. One is just the fiscal responsibility. Again, the cost of waiting, and we told you last week, is bankruptcy, the B word. You're crippling the district. So it's less and less resources. Someone's going to come in and do your job and do my job because we're not able to balance this budget. Next is we'll show you it's not about mismanagement. We haven't mismanaged our money, as you saw from, since I got here, our job was to put money into the fund balance, and we did that. That's why we had a AAA rating when we went out for the bond. We have multiple awards from our finance about financial audits, 0 audits in the last 10 years, 0 findings, sorry. Again, governor with vouchers. Vouchers are gonna hurt. Again, he has done nothing, he being our governor, has done nothing for public education. I don't mind competition. I don't really care. But just allow the accountability system to be the same. If they're gonna take, if we take Star, then they should take Star. If they have special ed kids, if we have special ed kids, then they should have special ed kids. We should all be accountable for the same system. And I don't mind it. Chasing inflation, as we told you last time, if we would just kept up with inflation, we would have a $7 million surplus, according to our data, to our numbers. And I don't care, and again, very respectfully, Mr. President Rodriguez, you can do resolution after resolution after resolution after resolution after resolution. I don't know how many resolutions we've done, and send it up to our legislative. So it's not getting done. So you 7 members in this room, along with our team, my team, need to bring our heads together. Because right now, there's some factors that we don't even know. As we said last meeting, we're about to become a Robin Hood school district. We're going to have to give money back. This year we're going to have to give $1.6 billion back.
Sorry, but I disagree. You've been blaming parents all the time.
This is a board meeting that if we want.
Always blaming
You know
somebody
what?
else.
This is your one warning.
As a voter,
This is
you're
your
blaming
one
me.
warning. This is your one warning.
Stop
It's your one
blaming me.
warning.
Stop blaming me.
Your one more, your first warning. So there's things we don't know about. The tariffs, the economy, ethanol, steel, we're building new schools. Supplies, technology, vehicle maintenance, bond construction. We don't know what's going to happen with dismantling of education. Our special ed funding comes from there, our CTE money. We don't know what's going to happen. There's no answers from anywhere from DC about who do we talk to for answers. We don't know how what vouchers are going to do. Recapturing, again, Robin Hood. So far, Austin has been very quiet. Haven't heard anything from Austin this week. I heard the retired superintendent from Lufkin. I've heard people talk, but I haven't heard any legislators. Again, a continued rise in inflation. Again, since 2018, we just went back that. We've been balance. You know, COVID hit. Still, we again had to take out a fund balance. And then all of a sudden, 24, 25, we were down for deficit budget. This was from last property value accelerated growth. That's the Robin Hood effect, 1.67. Our decrease in enrollment, 220,000. Special allotments. The kid is not the same kid that was way back when. It's not the same kid now. They're coming higher, economically disadvantaged. This is a different child now that we're educating. Property tax collections and instructional positions. The board approves sped aids because our sped population is going up, so we need to serve those special ed babies. And then, so again, with that, 5.83, and then this is all that money is assigned already into our fund balance. So in our savings account, we already have this money that's allocated for that construction and for a technology refresh.
Dr. G, can I
Yes.
ask a question?
Yes.
So from the central office reconstruction, we already know that we have that money.
Yes.
Why is it added to the deficit?
Because it's part of you already have it assigned, so it's in your savings.
Mhm.
So it's just to show you that we're gonna have to take it out. So just to show you that we're gonna take it out of fund balance. And then that's why we want the public and everybody to know, and, right? Let you all know that we are.
We're paying that.
We're paying that,
Same thing with technology.
yeah.
So, to make it more comprehensible, it's 5.83 that we're in a deficit.
Yes.
Because this money is already reserved
Money's
for
already
this.
there, yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So within the fiscal year, if I might, within your fiscal year is where your budget is, right? You get your revenues and your expenditures. Since this was at a previous year, we had to put it in the assigned fund balance, and then we incurred those expenditures this year because it wasn't within the same fiscal year. Go ahead, Mr.
And that's correct. Everything went to fund balance, the sale of this building. And now, like Armando said, we have to list our expenses for this coming year.
And so we told the board last year that, hey, we put this in our savings account, we always call it a savings account, to know that we're gonna take it out to pay for what we need. Yes, ma'am.
So in regards to the student enrollment decrease, so looking at the 220,000 that's there, when I divided that amongst the allotment that we received, we're looking at approximately 35, 36 kids.
Yes,
So that was what we were expecting to receive this year, and we received 35 to 36 kids less than that, correct? At Snapshot? Yes? Okay. So then my follow-up question to that is, our numbers have dropped since Snapshot. So now we're actually at about 65 students less than what it was at Snapshot based off of the email that I receive every day.
Yes, kids have left.
So if that's the case, then isn't this number actually closer to 440,000?
Well, this number, this fluctuates.
Okay.
It's not static.
But, so the reason I'm pointing that out is so that we can keep that in mind as we're looking in the future, because actually what we're projecting here as our loss is not as much as it may be.
It could fluctuate because the way the funding formula is that we get certain funding on Snapshot. So it's based on how many kids we
On that
have in
day.
certain populations. And other funding is based on attendance.
Okay.
So it could change. If we raise our attendance rates, we can get additional funding, additional kids. So
Now this particular number though is just based off of that difference in the enrollment. Okay.
Our projected attendance.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
And here's a recap. If nothing is done today, nothing is done. Board goes back, feel good. I bought a lottery ticket the other day. Nothing goes back. We're gonna have to borrow from fund balance to cover this. We'll be down to 41 days. And if nothing's done next year, again, we're gonna have to borrow again. And we're gonna be down to 2 days. 90 days is required by policy. So what we're saying is, what we're doing right now is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Yeah, we're building schools, and it feels great to see when I get that stuff in the mail and I see the kids all excited. But that's another 3 years down the line. 3, 4 years. So.
And
Go ahead.
I just want to make a comment back to that.
Yes, ma'am.
The schools and the bond was approved by the community, not by the district and not by the board. And so this is what the community obviously wanted. And so, because we went out and we said this is what the bond would cover, and it was approved. Therefore, as a district and as school board members, we have to make sure that the money that was approved for the bond is used specifically for what it went out for, which was to build schools. It's not to pay salaries, it's not to cover our deficit, it's to build schools.
Great point. Or in
Well-
repair schools.
And repairs.
And to be clear, we're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to
That's
use
the
it
law.
for anything else, yes. It has to be allocated for the things that were on the bond.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, sir.
Dr. Galavis, one of the major concerns that I have with your administration is that we're asking in a board meeting if that figure is gonna change. They should say, yes, it's a live document, it changes. I was told the last board meeting that number, 7.7 was not gonna change. So my concern is that I think we all need to be aware, your administration, when they present to us, state that it might change, okay? And it will change, because
It will
obviously,
change.
and it has changed.
It's going to change.
Well, right now, we're at 7.7. Now, it says here that it's projected deficit, and you're saying that it's gonna be even more.
Well, it may be, but it depends on what we do today, what you do in order to, what you adopt in June, and the actions you take today and next week is all dependent upon, those numbers are dependent on this board. But I agree with you. And, you know, it's not a static, it's not a finite number. That number is this number today, this number tomorrow. We have formulas coming out every day. And then this is one of the questions that you all asked about historical staffing. And Gustavo, you're gonna take this one?
Yeah, this, before you had asked about staffing, from before COVID times to now. This is, information that CASB compiled for us, and it shows, decreases in total enrollment except for one, which is teachers. As you can see, teachers, we have, 10 more today than we did in 2018, 2019. Every other category has, fewer employees in that category than they did, back before COVID. So according to CASB, the only significant change occurring with campus administration is the shift from 21.85 to 17.53 staff from 22-23 to 23-24, but it shifted back upward. But as you can see, we are staffed at a lower level than we were back before COVID, which was one of the questions that the board had.
Mr. Reveles, if I may. On the total teaching staff, so from 2018, we had 415.86.
Yes.
And so in 2023, it actually went up by only 2 to 417.37, correct?
23.
23,
Yes.
24.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So it went up by 2 points, or less than 2 actually.
Right.
Okay, and then your support staff went up quite a bit, almost by 10. Can you explain what the support staff is?
I think Ms. Pauline might be able to.
Well, that support staff did change from 2018 to 2019, from the 98.38 to current, which is at 120. And those increases, some of the increases started occurring in 2021, 22, 23, and those are the COVID years, or the period, where during this time, ensured that, we had, the ESSER money, and more of the staff at that point was hired to support instruction.
So can you be more specific with what kind of staff?
Well, for example.
Aides, sped aides,
Yes.
right?
We had sped aides,
Tutoring, academic tutors, things like that. Anything to allow us to catch up,
yes,
to close the gap
yes.
because of COVID, correct?
We had science lab aides.
Okay.
That's another group.
Now, if I may add to that, and going off of the staffing report that CASB gave us, so in the very back of it, it gives us a list of support staff, and I don't see any of those on here. I don't see classroom aides, I see nurses, counselors, librarians, food service personnel, but
That's different from the request that was made here.
Okay.
That, you all had requested from 2018 to forward. And so, of course, this information is from the PIMS data that is submitted. And so she took that information, took those snapshots of the different categories of staff that were added at.
But I'm saying the support staff, you're saying includes classroom teachers and things of that sort. They're, I'm sorry, classroom aides and so on and so forth. They're not listed as support staff here from the PIMS document here.
The aides are under educational.
Okay,
The
so,
support staff are like, for example, we had, what was Dr.
Fuentes?
Dr. Fuentes, we had a Dr. Fuentes.
Yes.
Who was in charge of COVID protocols.
she was like the, not the head nurse, but
Yeah, she was a medical doctor. who was
and that's
in
on
charge-
here, physician is one of the support staff. So I just want to be clear, because the support staff that's shown here is not the classroom aides and things of that sort. That's actually the educational aides, if you go down a couple more categories.
So my question again to Ms. Carrasco is what falls under support staff? If the aides that you just mentioned are under educational aides, then what falls under support staff?
And I know there were different definitions as far as the way she grouped the staff. Remember that she explained that in that group of, Jose, what was the pie chart that she had? That it included the teams, the way it was categorized, the way that people were grouped. For example, remember she said some of the clerical staff was included within the aides and that group of
Correct.
staff. And that was the grouping that she did based on their information, that the way she groups the staff.
Say it so everyone, go up there and say, so everybody. What page are you on?
So this is actually from the last board meeting.
She's on page 52 from the last CISD with this Karen.
Staff.
Staff.
So if we have like athletic trainer, did we add?
Not for that position.
We have family and community liaison, did we add?
Not for that position.
We have instructional coach.
Not for that position.
We have librarians.
That was just a summary of all positions that could have been on PIMS.
Okay, I guess the clarity that I want is you're giving me this information that I requested, but I want to know what specific positions were added under your support staff because of COVID. Because now, in my mindset, I need to know, are these essential that are going to still impact our kids? Or can we do already with what have we closed the gap enough to where we don't need the support staff?
So for the position that's not gonna, I know we added, educational aides were added. Educational diagnostician, sorry. That was one position that was added.
Educational diagnostician?
Diagnostician, correct. The LSSP was a position that was added.
Which is?
Licensed school psychologist.
Speech?
Social workers were added. And from this list, I can get you a specific list of what was added. But from this list, just looking at it, those were the positions that were added from this group, according to PIMS.
That would justify that we went from 98.68 in 2019 to 117.97 in 2023-24?
Yes, ma'am.
I need more specifics, numbers.
I see what you're talking about.
The other category that I had asked for that specificity in is the auxiliary category, because when we looked at our auxiliary numbers from compared to the state, and also I compared it to Dayton ISD since we're similar in population there. We were much higher in a lot of those auxiliary categories. So I had mentioned at the last meeting, campus office clerical, central office clerical, child nutrition was huge, but I actually had a follow-up on that one. Are they paid for from 199, or they're paid for out of the food nutrition? Okay, I figured that's the case, so that's fine. Custodial staff we were hiring, transportation we were hiring. So I feel like we need numbers on those. Did we?
Safety and security was that.
Safety and security was big, but I didn't highlight that one. Personally. But yes, we were higher there too.
And remember our custodial staff, from my perspective, the custodial staff, we staff the campuses per square footage. There's a formula that's used. And so as far as custodial staff, we're running pretty lean, as well as the maintenance staff. Those numbers, I know that, when she's looking at this information, and then the report, how she's comparing this with other districts that are similar as far as maybe enrollment
Correct.
But again, there's other things to look at.
Absolutely. And I think those are important to discuss, because of course, if you're just looking at data, number to number, it doesn't make sense. But we're not Dayton ISD, we're not the state. So why are we different in certain areas? Because those things are all things to consider. But at the end of the day, we do need that specificity.
Can I make a comment? So going back and looking at the Canutio history of fiscal responsibility, so in 2024, we were looking at a balance deficit of $3 million, right? And we cut a lot of programs. We let go of a lot of staff. And at the end of the day, we had $1 million profit or credit. Surplus. Thank you. But, it's a fluid. Our money, the money that's coming in, that's going out, it's very fluid. And it's hard for us to decide, how much do we want to take out, knowing that there's possibilities that there's still others money that might come in. It's not set in stone. The money can be allocated from other things. And if we cut so much, are we going to tell the community that when the money comes in, we're going to restore those programs and those teachers?
Well, and that depends. I know that right now, one of the things that you're referring to is that we don't want to take too much right now because, we may have some assistance.
Yes.
And my understanding was that last year or the year that we gave the raises, they were counting on the fact that we were going to get money, and we did it. In this case right now, we have a timeline that we have to fulfill, which is the issuance of contracts. Once I issue those contracts, then there's no going back for that entire year. So what we're doing now is trying to prepare for those cuts that you all will approve so that we can move forward and meet those other deadlines that we have to meet.
Corona, and I don't think we need to look at what is coming or what could become. I think we need to deal with what we have right now. At this point, the deficit, and try to fix it. We can all assume that the state is going to give us additional funds, but unless we have it on hand, we can't do anything.
Well, and I think to add on to that, Sergio, I think that wouldn't be fiscally responsible of us to do, right? It would be like us in our household saying, I have no money, I'm out of money, but I think I'm going to get a raise. So I'm going to continue to spend, or I'm going to take out a loan, or I'm going to spend on my credit card. When we can't ask our taxpayer, we shouldn't ask our taxpayers to do that. We shouldn't be doing that as a district. So we need to deal with what we have and see what cuts we need to make that's going to affect our kids the least amount possible.
I have another question. So Ms. Carrasco, last year was the first drift, correct?
That's correct.
Was there a savings? How much?
We provided least.
Is it for 2024, the surplus that is showing? $1,084,000?
Don't know where you're looking.
You're 1.7.
The 1.84 was based on the fact that we got the tech stop money for the building. That's the only reason we had a surplus. We were projected to end in a deficit of about $5 million.
So back to 2024, I'm looking at the financial history, fiscal responsibility. We have a $3 million credit. Where did that come from? That's the deficit?
But then we projected.
That was a projected deficit. Then we got the funding from TechStop, so it brought it down.
Yes.
All right? So again, what was the savings from RIF 1? What was the savings?
1.7? 1.7. 1.7. It's on the next.
And where did it go?
It went into the deficit. $1.45.
So that went into the deficit of 2025,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, because we started off at 9 million, and then we cut that down to 2.7.
Okay, so from the 2.7, you're still gonna reduce the 1.45, right?
No,
It was already reduced.
it's already reduced.
Okay.
Rodrigo, let me ask one question.
Yes, sir.
I know last year we were in deficit and we tried to balance that budget. And we still had debt at the end of the year. This year we're in the same situation. But last year we tried to fix it. Obviously we didn't fix it enough so that we would have less of a burden this year. This year we still have the burden. Are we gonna have the same burden next year? If we got these many positions?
I want to say no, but it all depends. It depends. Right now, wait, are you talking about today? I could say yes. But all the variables that I mentioned, like vouchers, anything else happening, what the legislature's gonna do, I don't know. The new bills, teachers are supposed to get raises. That's one of the questions that I have. The teachers deserve raises, but how are we gonna sustain that?
That's correct.
Because if you give them a raise, it's not just one time, you're gonna have to continue that. So that's the question that I have, the ones that are doing the bills. So, but I do give the board, last year, we went from 9 million to start, we cut it down to 2.7. So now we're starting at 5. So.
And I do understand that. I think what has helped the district is the sale of the land and building. Obviously, it has helped us reduce the deficit. That's your biggest impact, to be honest.
Oh, yes, sir. I agree. We're going to save grace, if you will.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay.
So with that being said, one more question. We have some possible property to be sold.
Yes, but that's for closed. That's an executive session.
Okay, so if we sell property, this is the question. If
In
we
general.
sell property, where does it go? In general, where
In
does it
general.
go?
Fund balance.
To fund balance.
Yes.
Which will reduce the deficit, because
Yes.
it would pull from there to cover
Yes.
the deficit.
But it's one-time money.
And or increase the days.
I'm sorry?
And or increase the days. You know how they said, but.
Yes. Well, if we're in a deficit, this is my personal opinion. Again, a household budget. If I'm in the negative and I sell my car or I sell my house and I go in and live with my family, whatever, I think that I would rather apply that to the deficit versus to my debt, rather than pick up the days of the fund balance. I understand the fund balance and everything, it's my savings account. But I'm in dire need right now to take care of this deficit.
You want to pay your mortgage.
Exactly.
But
With your car payment.
For
Yes,
semantics.
with whatever I sold.
Or it has less impact too. Yeah.
So, that's what Gustavo was reading. This is a programming history done by Dr. K, Dr. A. Go ahead, Dan.
Good evening. I just wanted to say a few things. So the programs that we've listed are programs that we've added. Some of them as early as I think 2014, but really within the last, I guess maybe 5-6 years. These programs are not listed here because they're not successful programs. These are just all our programs, and they've been very successful. They're just listed here because we have to make a decision on what we're going to keep and what we're not going to be able to afford to keep. You know, our middle school programs, we have been innovative. We've been a model district. Our middle school and CTE programs are the reason why we got the 2022 HEB Best Small School District in Texas award. Also, these innovative programs are now being followed by the state. Before we were doing advanced math at middle school, not all districts were doing that. Now it's required by the state. Just wanted to tell you that, you know, we've been successful, and we've even tried to get grants for as many of these as we could. We've partnered with CREED, we've written grants, we've done the work, but in some cases, of course, we've had to fund them as a district. We've done research on our programs, like the Montessori program. It's done great things in our district. Of course, we're continuing to collect data because it is a new program. We've started these programs within the last few years because, you know, we wanted to be competitive, we wanted to be innovative, all of those things, and we've been able to do that. It's just, you know, can we still afford some of these things? And I don't know what else you would add.
No, and I think, you know, for some, like the pre-K3, the Montessori, we have waiting lists. So we cannot even serve those entirely that want to enter some of these programs. And so, you know, I think our thought was we need to offer those that are accelerating, that are ready to be able to take high school courses at the middle school level, because they need something too.
And so I also wanted to say that this does not include the BQ local program evaluation that we normally do. We have a team that's meeting tomorrow on BQ local. That's where we look at our software programs. We've looked at those even as of last year, and I think we've run pretty clean concerning that. And then we, where we can, we use IMAT money. And then last year, Ms. Borrego gave us some really great suggestions to ask for discounts, and those things actually did work. And so we've been running really clean as much as possible. And so we're going to see what else we can cut this year to see, you know, what programs are duplicated, if anything. We don't think there might be anything else, but these are our academic programs.
And I want to piggyback off what Trustee Barnes says. We're not Dayton, because we want a police force. We want a police officer at every campus.
Yeah.
Dayton doesn't have that. So some districts don't have that. But this community wants that. So I think that's where, when we look at comparing this, it's great, but you also have to look at the unique needs and of what this district and community wants.
What percentage of that cost, what money do we get from the state for our police department?
So for that budget, the grants were not included. So that's just 199, 1.4 million is 199 money for personnel and operations.
How much do we get per student per?
We get a total of $350.
$350
per student for
350 complete, all district wide.
That was from the previous legislative session.
Correct.
And what does that total?
That total.
That part of that was a requirement that they would have to.
So they fund. There's a.
Mother, can you say your question again?
So the state legislator 2 years ago required, or not necessarily required, you could opt out if you don't have a police officer within the campus. But they provided funding, and versus what they want, it's an unfunded mandate, right? So they're mandating a police officer if we approve it. And the funds that we get, 350 times 5,000.
5,700.
Yeah.
I did 5,700 times 350 and it's just under 2 million.
No, the whole allotment was 350.
Per student.
Total.
No, total.
50,000?
Actually, the most is 203,000.
Yeah.
15,000 per campus, and then.
You said how much per campus?
15,000.
50,000
Per campus. And then,
This is a safety and security plan, right?
Right. And then the other is based on our enrollment, on our student enrollment. The other is little.
Yeah, every school district is going through the same thing right now. Basically, we're getting very little money from the state, and we're having to foot the bill for this mandate that was created. It just actually makes me feel good that my son is, as an officer in their campus, and that's one of the areas that I wouldn't mind cutting out. And I like what you've done with the police department simply because if we were to go with the sheriff's department, El Paso Police, it would be more expensive.
Yeah.
They want to raise every year.
In fact, we talked to the sheriffs. They want 475,000 for 11 brand new vehicles. Just to start. To start the conversation, you have to commit 475,000. So, and then you have to replenish them every 6 years. So, I mean.
And for each police officer, there were, the estimation was at 110,000 per officer for 80 hours without considering overtime.
And then you see our cops, Friday night lights out there, at basketball, volleyball, track, soccer, here
In the morning.
in the morning.
And one of the things I want to say that in the past, I know that we used to have just the security at the high school, security guards. And that's like when I started working here, you had 3 security guards at the high school, and that was it. And as time has gone on, we have done the contracted services with Anthony PD, with the police services, with the sheriffs, and it has proven to be more expensive than what we have now.
So,
Back then there was grant funding though. That would pay, what, 75%? There was.
We've received some grants, however, they're limited. They were limited for, I believe, those 2 years worth of funding, and then we have to pay for
The
it.
previous year before we created our own police force, there was some funding, and I believe some other districts do get some funding.
Right, there used to be the COPS grants that we used to provide.
good.
And what about marshals? Are they still an option on the table, and cost-wise, are they more effective? That's
You mean like-
included in the legislation that instead of having,
But the thing is that the police officer, and I'm gonna point at you, Lieutenant and
Officer Keon.
Officer
Gospel.
Russell, is that, what I understand, and you all know, and you can speak up, is that they can't do reports.
Marshals cannot?
Yeah, they can't
Okay.
do reports. So what I'm hearing from our districts that have just the marshal program, their cops are going back and forth because when there's an assault on a high school, when any kind of assault, where a parent, hey, I want to do an assault, that marshal can't take that report. That has to be by a certified police officer.
Okay.
So if there's a search, right, I can search just like a marshal can search, but they have different, what's that amendment?
Reasonable suspicion.
Reasonable suspicion.
Well, we need to have probable cause.
Probable cause, PC, probable cause. Thank you. So there's a lot more that they can do
Okay.
than a gun.
Okay, yeah, I mean, and that's all really good information. So, but coming down to budget-wise, what, do we pay for marshals? Are marshals voluntary? How does that work?
So the marshal program, how it's worked is that staff members already at the district are designated as marshals.
Okay.
So let's say for Dr. Rico, he's appointed by the board to be the marshal
For that campus.
for that campus, and that they go through training, but it's very limited. I was talking to a principal today just about that, And there's a liability aspect of it where peace officers that are fully certified have certain immunities from if there was a shooting incident, they have immunity and less liability than someone that's not a peace officer.
Okay. And I don't know, because in East Texas, when I worked there, I know the marshal thing is fairly new, correct?
Came out with Uvalde.
So we had teachers who were trained to carry on campus if they chose to. But of course, that wouldn't meet our requirement of having an armed police officer on campus.
So right now we're also exploring maybe going to level 3 security guards at the elementary campuses, but that's still something that we're kind of getting information and ensuring that not because of the price we put students at risk. For
now,
the
level 3 police officers are
level 3 security guards.
Security guards are still allowed and trained to carry a
They can carry a gun,
Okay.
but they can't do search, they can't give tickets, they can't,
So
like
they would
that.
basically do the same as a marshal.
Yes, so, like, for example, I was talking to the Reyes police officer yesterday, he's already given out 80 citations, just on the road. Marshals can't do that.
Right.
Level 3 security guards can't do that. They can do that.
I have another question.
Yes, go ahead.
Concerning, do we still have a K-9?
No, right? No, she's too old.
She's already gone, so that's a cost
She's
savings.
with us, but she is no longer certified, neither is Doc.
So there's no more money going towards
No.
that.
No, ma'am.
So I have a question. So when you look at this, it's costing 1.4 million for the police department, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so we're getting about 203,000, right, Ms. Cody? From a grant, let's say, or 350 per student, right, district-wide? Plus you said 15,000 per campus.
Those numbers are not included in that because that's just general fund.
No,
So-
I know, but this is my question. So 15,000 per campus, right? 10 campuses comes out to about 353,000, right? So when you take the 203 and the 353 and you reduce it 1.4, that's what we would be left to pay?
So the safety allotment is actually $10 per ADA, so per student average daily attendance. And then 15,000 per campus, so it's 150 plus 50. So for like this year, it'd be like 53,000 plus the 150. And that's what we get put into our general fund to support the entire police department.
So what's put into the general is deducted from the 1.4 to see what was left?
So what was,
No?
you see what she's asking?
The
I know
one
what she's
point-
asking.
Is that taken away from the one?
She's asking, with your numbers, right, the $10 times ADA, so 95% gives you what? 53? I got two number calculators up there. 53, right? So 53,000, the total we get from the state is what? 150. So 53 plus 150, 203. What Miss Lily is asking, is it 1.4 minus 203? So the officers, police, it really cost 1.1? Or is it 1.3, 1.5 above the 200,000?
It's above. That number is just what the district, in 199 funds without any allotments, what the district has for the police department.
So could
you would add that to that number.
So it's 1.6.
It's closer to 1.6.
Is that right?
Correct.
So along with the help from the state, our police department really costs 1.6.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I also have questions for Dr. Kearney, on this right here. So when you say that, or Dr. Adriano, when you say that the advanced algebra 1 is required, so if it's required, that's not a option. Advanced English 1, that's not required. They're taking this to middle school. This is my understanding, correct? So if we don't have this anymore, they have an option to be able to do it at the high school.
Right.
And by doing it at the high school, it's not going to impact the credits that they need for graduation?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so the same thing with Algebra 2,
Correct.
advanced physics, and art. They have the opportunity to take these classes at the high school that will add to their credits if they need to graduate. Except for Algebra 1.
Yeah, but however, with what's they do, the test to get due credit? TSI. TSI, our math, is because kids are not having Algebra 2.
At middle school or
No,
at the high
at
school?
the high school. So TSI, we TSI kids, all 8th graders. If you look at our reading TSIs and our math TSI, the reason why we're low is because these kids haven't seen this Algebra 2 yet. And even at freshman and sophomore, because they don't technically take Algebra 2 until the 11th grade. Correct? 10th or 11th, depending on geometry, algebra. So again, yeah, they don't need it, but if we look at,
So is the TSI only given at 8th grade?
let's give it at all grades. Anytime they want it.
Okay, so if they haven't, if we take it away from middle school, they still have to get the TSI, and so it's going to show that low because they haven't seen it. It's not being offered.
Yeah, they're not being instructed on it.
Okay, but then if you go to the next year in high school, and they're taking it, they do the TSI, so then their number's going to be higher than that of the middle school, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And TSI affects our CCMR
Yeah, they get
goals, correct?
They get a point.
They have to pass both the reading and the math for us to get a CCMR point. And there's other ways they can get it, through ACT, through SAT, through courses, CTE, getting a certification.
Do you find that most of our students are qualifying in more than just the TSI, where that's?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so.
Absolutely.
You don't
There's
think we
other
would-
options.
You don't think we would have a big hit there if we had?
At the middle school level, no, as long as we do it
At the high school.
We have to do it at some, now it's, to do it earlier is more beneficial because now they can take dual credit, AP, more advanced courses during their high school year, which is what we wanted. That was the intent, was for them to be able to take advanced courses.
Mr. Galaviz,
Yes, sir.
what is the breakdown of the police department? Now we just went to 1.63. What is the breakdown of that expense?
As far as like
Salaries,
costs, salaries,
vehicles,
get a breakdown.
So at the top of my head, I think it's 1 million for personnel costs, and that includes fringe benefits, salaries, and then the other 400 is subscriptions, or car maintenance, gasoline, insurances. They have to pay the separate insurances, and I think the other pot of money would be things that the state required and funded through the safety allotment grant that we're working on, that is not included on that 124.
give me an idea of what the state requires.
There's, I'm sorry, only because I worked on this very closely, there's a lot of things that the administration could recommend. I mean, there's anywhere from, what are those things called that you walk through, to metal detectors, you could do fencing, you could do, bulletproof glass, you could do filming, you could do, I mean, there's a variety of things that you could use it for. But in essence, it is to make the school safer for the child.
But we're not doing it here. We're doing it as the deferred maintenance part of the bond.
So right now, we did spend much of the allotment already on bulletproof, not bulletproof, but resistant window films, fencing, and upgrades to servers.
So then we're gonna say that $200,000 are used this year. We might not have this expense next year.
And we might not have the money next year as well. So it depends on the funding, on the allotment, if they're gonna offer it next year or if they're not.
So given the fact that we knew that we might pass a bond, was that not taken into consideration? Because I believe there's some safety work being done for some of those campuses.
We did that the first time around, and we didn't secure schools how they were supposed to that year because we were hoping that the bond would pass and it didn't. So this time around, the schools that are there now, that have kids now, they're fully compliant with it.
And they only give you a certain amount of time, if I'm not mistaken, to use the money, or you lose it.
And only a certain portion can be utilized in personnel and payroll, so everybody has to comply with some of those.
We still had some more questions on this.
The middle school CTE education and training, what is that?
So that's a new pathway, a new academy that was started, a pathway for education for students to select a pathway to become teachers.
And they still have an option to do that in high school if they don't
Yes.
start that now? Okay. And then, sorry, there was another one.
The Public Service Academy?
Same, that's part of it.
Now, it's in the middle school as well?
That's at AMS, and that one includes law enforcement and teaching.
So that's getting them ready either for the education or PSEC.
And the intent is always for us to be able to get CCMR points. So if we start them at the middle school with that high school credit, by the time they enter the high school, they're more likely to finish and take the certification and get certified.
And then the STEAM Academy, is that?
That's the focus for engineering, robotics,
and that's CMS, correct?
So my question would be, if this is not offered at the middle school, the new CTE, or I'm sorry, the education and training and the Public Service Academy, it will be offered at the high school for CCMR points and to get the students going in the pathway. So it's not going to delay them, well, it might delay them, right, from acquiring it earlier, like you said, but they still have the opportunity to do it if that's what they choose.
They do, and I think, I mean, there's still courses we can offer at the middle school that's geared towards, they're just not for high school credit. The idea is to get the high school credit so that they can get certified by their junior year, instead of waiting their senior year, and we're all fighting for the same students, the athletes, the band, so, you know, it's just a way for them to finish.
Okay, so, but if we're talking about the budget, right?
Yes.
And so, if it's just the, let's look at the public service one, 48,000. Education, training, 80,000? And you remember, yes, yes. Is that number going to be added to the high school when it's being offered there?
No, there's an instructor already there teaching.
Thank you.
So for me, I think the only ones we haven't discussed on here are the college readiness coaches. And I have heard just amazing things of what those readiness coaches do, so I don't even really want to talk about it. But just for fairness, because every position has to be considered, we would be looking at almost 323,000 with those teachers. It says enrollment of 45. So they're actually teaching in class?
Yes, and that one is
437. Sorry, I need a ruler too. Oh, there you go. I'm sorry, 157, 144. I'm sorry.
However, that's a special allotment,
Okay.
Ms. Barnes, so that's money that needs to be, it's paid out of special allotment, not.
Not out of 199?
It's 199, but it's a special
Yeah,
allotment.
we could use like either outcomes bonus funds, right? CCMR.
So are you saying we could keep that and take it from, and not take it from the 199?
Right, it still has to be used for the same purpose for college readiness.
Okay.
It cannot be used for anything other than college readiness.
Okay, so that money was almost earmarked already for this, so it really shouldn't even be on the table.
Wait, you can spend that in other areas.
Areas.
We can.
But like college readiness, resources.
Okay.
Programs.
SAT prep.
So we can't just put it,
SAT prep,
Got it.
books.
so it's basically gonna still be going through the same thing?
Yes.
So,
College readiness.
got it, all right.
So, again, we just wanted to remind you, like, 84% is personnel, and that part of the pie, 5%, 3.4, supplies and materials, professional contractor, 3.4, other operating costs, 2.2, capital outlay, 1.5, and debt service, 457,000. When we look at balancing this budget. So what we did last Thursday, thanks to the team that came in during the spring break, is we cut another 400,000 from that piece of the pie. Right here. Because there are subscriptions that we need, that we have to have.
And this is from the
No, someone's looking up. You looking up? You okay?
professional contract.
No, sorry, I was looking up for something. Sorry.
Okay. I
It
thought.
might be because I can't.
No, I didn't know if it was the wind or.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Miss Lily. I'm sorry.
This is from the professional professional and contracted services. 400,000 was cut from that,
Yeah,
from that
supplies.
pie,
Yeah, from that little.
from the
Yes, ma'am.
contracted services.
Yes.
Okay, and what is left is because there's subscriptions that we need.
Yes. For example, Dr. Rico, what do we have to have?
For the
Some contracted service. For
Right,
example, the lights,
right.
to pay the bills.
And so if you also think, like there's subscriptions that we have to have, like for cybersecurity purposes, Microsoft subscriptions, things that are hard money that tends to go up all the time, those are professional, they're called professional contracts, but it's really just internet services, things like that, I mean, we have continued to.
And then from last meeting, on the table was our central office, where we're looking at cutting, reorganizing, giving more duties to other people.
Director Galaviz,
That's 1.2.
Can you share with the board, because I had a question on that. I felt it was very vague, and I wanted, in correlation with the CISD study. I think that what you shared with me helped me see a better light on how that was not just 400,000 and how that was being cut. Can you share with them?
How the 400,000?
So what I did is I went through department
Just give that, because
I went through department budgets.
Things on.
And I looked at things that could be discretionary, travel, anything that was something that we could put off for a year. So I went through everybody's budget for those items, and that's where those 400,000 came from.
But what I wanted clarification on is that the CISD study told us this is where we had too many people in whatever area. And what you're looking at as far as cutting.
Right. That 400 is just operations.
Okay.
The TASB is personnel.
Yeah, so I wanted, is it that the reorganization part?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I wanted you to clear up for the board, because I think they should see that piece. Or I could read my email that you answered. It gave me a lot of clarity, and I feel they need to hear it.
Just say it.
Yeah.
Say it.
Basically, yes, we did the TASB review, and so that they could tell us more or less, how we ranked to the state or to other districts. And remember, as it was mentioned already, there's a uniqueness about this district and things that are done here. So we went over and beyond what TASB recommended. And we went ahead and reevaluated our departments. Everybody looked at them, see where we could combine things. And we went, and that's how we went to the 1.2 million versus, I know you mentioned it was the 470 that TASB was recommending. But we've gone and looked at positions, and we've come up to a $1.2 million in savings. And so those are positions beyond those that have been identified by TASB.
And I think that goes back to what Ms. Maldonado was saying earlier, is that if it's just a number and we don't know what it is, then it's important, because this email gave me a lot of clarity on what you all were cutting and stuff. And the reason I'm saying this is as you present information to us, I think it's important that you break it down a little bit more so that we have that clarity.
So if I might add to it, exactly, because what TASB gave us, staffing options, and I'm looking at page 46 from when they gave us the report. So their staffing options were to cut at least 2 positions in financial services, to cut at least 1 in communication, 4 in technology, 8 non-campus, clerical. And so out of the 1.2, I want the specificity as to which departments and how many.
And by the same token, I think one of the things that I have requested is those specific cuts amount to what amount of money? Because if we're cutting only clerks, I don't think we're doing any justice, to be honest. So I think it's gotta be clear, each department, what is the value of that department? How many departments do you have? 6?
Well, if you go by the TASB report, you have financial, 2 positions. So if those 2 positions are included in the 1.2, financial, 2 positions, what is the savings for those 2 positions? Okay? Or specify even more, position 1, position 2. And then communications, this is what I would like, communications, at least 1 position. Communication, 1 position, what is the dollar amount? Is this what you're wanting, Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Okay. And then go department by department, because yes, this is too vague. We want to make sure that what TASB is recommending, we're complying with. We're doing it to try to budget. But when you're giving me just 1.2 million, I don't know who the reorganization of central office, what, where?
Well, and because some of those positions are one person. So to give that person that dignity, because we don't know whether the board's gonna approve that or not. So I don't wanna come out there like, for example, the police were on there, and I know, I don't want them to be, you know, because the board didn't say cut the police department.
And we have to be mindful that a TASB study is a study, it's a recommendation. Ultimately, it's administration where they say, okay, this is what we need, this is the bare bones that we need to function, but it gives them kind of like a map on how to get there. And they may want that treasurer, because that treasurer is very valuable compared to the other treasurer, and so on and so forth. I just think that for transparency for the board members, breaking it down for me helped me a lot.
I'll send that to the board.
But again, this is what you gave us right now, and it says 19 in central, but where?
Well, and I think honestly for accountability reasons too, Dr. Galavis, because if you just say 19 in total, and then later on in the next year we come back and you say, oh, well, we need this position for this specific reason, but we don't know where cuts were even made. Do you see what I'm saying?
I promise you I'm not gonna come back and ask you that.
Well, you said that last year too.
I promise you I'm not gonna come back.
Come back before us. So I'm just saying in regard to not just being specific and having that clarity, I think for accountability reasons too. And even if there is those positions where it's just 1 person and they would, know that their position is on the line, just send it to us as board members and label it as confidential. So that way we know this is being considered, these are the departments, but this is not to be, to share.
But I also want to just point out in the bigger picture, it's still 1.2.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's great.
So it's still 1.2. It's not 2. It's not the TASB study at 400.
And I'm glad that Ms. Borrego asked that question, because that was actually one of my questions. So the 470,000 that TASB recommended is included in. You guys took that recommendation and you added to it, correct? All right. So that was one of my questions. So I'm glad to hear that. Okay, I'm good there.
So again, if you look at the overall personnel category, teacher 51, auxiliary 20, professional support 18. You could cut all of us in this room. You can cut Dr. Reyes, you can cut Dr. Rico, you can cut Dr. Curry, you can cut Pam, you can cut all of us. We're only 1.3. I mean, 1.3, your deficit is 5.8.
So is the district administration just central?
That's just central. So, I mean, I know there's that central office, top heavy, but this is where all the numbers lie. This is your data. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna balance the budget as a group. So I know as we put you in specific groups and you have a moderator there, Claudia is the moderator for this group. Jose is the moderator for this group. Rick is the moderator for this group. Yeah? You want more? No. Okay. Everybody have these? You're gonna break it out. And you also have, we sent.
Just one for the table?
Yeah, one for the table. But you all have them too to look at, if you wanna look at. So we have all of this. We have 6.2 on the table for the deficit. Again, none of this is easy. It's hard. So you as a table are going to decide what you want to do. Here's our recommendation. And we'll get you the specifics. And your experts are right there. If you want something about CNI and Montessori and what it means to have Montessori, if you want something about CTE, you have Dr. Ariano. If you want something about, you know.
But you don't have those programs here.
No.
This is just
you have them
personnel.
in your
Packet.
Your packet.
Yesterday, or
Yes.
for this, for today.
Yes. So we have a Montessori question here. No, I heard you. No. She's going to come to your group.
Oh.
Now they're going to
There might be a
circle.
question we don't have. Yeah. What was the
majority was
question?
my teachers.
What was your Montessori question? Ms. Ortega, what was your Montessori question?
So if we close, and it's a big if we were to close out Davenport.
We paused it.
Okay, we were to pause Davenport and, wait for them to move to their new school. We have a Montessori program there.
Yes.
So then we would still be able to keep the Montessori in the other schools if we decided to.
Except we have one at Garcia.
One at Garcia
We
would be
could
left.
potentially move the Montessori at DDE to Garcia.
And have two.
Have
Cause those kids are gonna wanna.
Why not send an email to them with the rest of the school?
Because then you'd have three, but you would have to buy more materials, and it's a lot of money to set up, so, I mean, you could move the materials potentially, right? But at Garcia, we've, broken down walls in classrooms, we've done certain things to create the Montessori environment. And so we could do it at TCD, but, potentially you could. You could, and they're close. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could.
The end goal was to have.
What schools have the
Maybe
Montessori? I have four. Only Garcia and
But there's two classes for Garcia.
Yes, so give me, rate the ones that you would do first.
do you see enrollment? Like, how many kids are transferring?
I think you will show this enrollment.
But we can see that exactly.
What are we looking at, right? So what's the high school?
And one of the things I heard is that once you have
So we don't have every system, we'll have it next year.
Like, I think central office, yes, right? Yes, do it. Yeah, I mean, that's the email I showed you, remember, where I got a little bit of clarification.
You'll have the one from the back.
Well, right now, we've only been able to start our I don't want to say yes to one, so we have well, yes, you get a whole day. So we'll ask that.
Not the high school, that's why.
So right now,
And then also, maybe your
kindergartners and
PLCs were not for subjects, which are
Do the three kids go into Montessori or not? She has to take three. Do we have a waiting list for that? Yes. Not that many on the waiting list.
Not at the moment, and I think, at the end of this year, and just having a teacher who has a but math is also success in math is an so right now, if you look at the data with modification, we do 100% yes. Literacy looks a little bit different. It's not like blending the high school functional skills the rapid learning and vocabulary in pre-K development at this time, and with because with literacy they don't do the sounds they teach it. So right now the teachers are singing well, but not to say that that was this year. So they're still
like a super school, like a super school that they have on but it'll help.
And
that's also a chocolate sprinkle on the top, you know, más o menos. So this they met us halfway, because we can get rid of arms, but here kids are still going to elementary and they're going to create this because it's going to train. Some are out and some get off. I'm okay with it.
We hope they build those relationships.
Okay, so so I'm gonna even go back even more. Back in the day, back in the 90s, teacher, 90s and 30s, so there was no elementary teacher. The teacher, it's in the teacher. And now, even now, the session is for teachers to push. It really is. I mean, that's part of the whole that's part, like we can math, science, social studies that we're supposed to use it. See how they do now. That's not it.
And they're
It's really this day. So then neighbors come to their
for the student staff members, like,
whatever reason, there was money at the time.
But we're only
But they're only talking about pre-K, and I believe it, so we'll look at pre-K.
and I want to say that we hire elementary teachers are predominantly and they're all at so what is the 2009
Oh, yeah, maybe.
looking at maybe
Yeah, but I was the first one to go there, and so, yeah, yes, I didn't. Yeah.
I can go ahead and back, so.
Well, yeah, that's what they're
That way, I have to solve
but
There was hesitation and then we got the SL and case kind of the agenda. So we wanted to see first what they need,
So right
how
now,
they
we
can
have
volunteer.
their budget, continue with the options for now.
teacher has, every school has one
Yes,
teacher.
and our,
They're gonna,
right now you're at
we
three.
get one teacher for every two campuses. And they're gonna train, and they're gonna have the teachers. They don't give music every day, they don't give music every day now. They don't, yeah, they get it once a week.
You have that backwards. I mean, we're doing that.
So like only one for half day, what do I do? But that teacher held at the fifth grade level,
So
not
not,
players. Which is very but the teachers were involved. Now, how I put on the play, put on the musical, so on and so forth. There's no way that when the teacher, even if it was one hour,
if you want to story,
to offer a program, they have to, and they die full-time, or trained and qualified, and they have to, or they can teach it.
Because before that's how kids were. You had 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. And we got
Well, I know for preschool pre-K4 is ready for
One awesome, and she has the option of it, just put on two, right? But you should have one awesome. I think that I'm okay the way that it's going to be. You're welcome. But I would also. But it's, sometimes there does. Oh, yeah. So you can help us. This way you can help get rid of it.
For example, our only ones that.
So I'm okay with the central office, the CTE. So we're good with that. I read the library one, they said
The non-exempt positions
I'm
now.
okay with one library, and then as we go, we start to add them. We start to add them back.
Are there any others that want to list it? Okay.
I'm telling you the true story there. So I think that this proposal is good enough for everything.
So for this position, we'll wait, but if you have other positions, we can.
We can answer my first question. Me?
So for an LD, you have to have a program that is an LD cannot practice. There has to be a part that is putting their certificate of practice in
For kids that are struggling.
They cannot assist in language. I mean, they can provide
Like what I was doing, I the librarians out there, you are going to be interested in getting to know you and you work for the next. I think it was there's a lot of research, and I don't know how these schools are staffed, but they just do that type of thing, you know. And they get the library, the Montessori kids, story time, read time. There's a lot of. Oh, yeah. How is that? I mean, I love that right now too. It's like the news when we make a stop with.
Is a nurse needed at every art?
It's a 504. Well, some are earlier.
My question is this, the savings, right? For all 10, that's what I told you. Because it says to be instead, start hiring librarians and counselors. No, I know. I'm sorry, I'm here. The way I see it. So if it's the same thing. Okay, without this, I would think it has to come.
So these are
Montessori would be free.
Which of them? Now, there's some great ones that do that. There are. And they can go to homes, they can visit the very house. They have like a number. They have one already. So every school has to look at I know, I know. But with those people, and writing policy. So this having and one artist. I'm good with becoming, and then I think this is station library, so go and I like the next one because I brought that up a lot of times, I remember. Yes. That I said, you know, I was a nurse, what you're passionate in the art and redesign for the one. Well, my question is, but most kids they have that have their own nurse. You go back with them.
We're done. No, that's mine.
No,
Let each person take that.
Martha over there so she can explain. Martha, can you explain for them too? They have a question.
Yeah.
Our non-negotiables.
Right. So it would be one.
Or both are non-negotiables to keep this.
And at the high school.
Yeah, so it's one doctor from the nurses.
But then you also have diabetics, but they can address the diabetics. The only problem is if any of their disabilities is
No,
LVN.
And we would, it's just what the title can do. Are we iffy on that one? We're not there? Yeah. I have a question on the secondary program.
Yeah, I have a friend like that, my
So when you say evaluation, of course, which one? And then I have.
Secondary.
Oh, I always think secondary.
Those are all the middle school ones.
Oh, yeah, okay. The only thing that. Oh, not for algebra. Okay, but my question here. Algebra one, yes, for sure. Yeah, algebra one, research shows that algebra one
Service to schools.
with the help of leaders, doctors, all those kind of things that really good studies and that.
So that's why you have 3 counselors. But at the secondary council.
This is yours.
Well, as a middle school, not, I know high school can't, but middle school. You, how many counselors do you have? Can one job?
My son's like,
Because you also remember you have to do master's they have master's
Right, elementary doesn't. Now, I'm concerned with the age, so
So right now,
I know what
moving the
yeah, elementary teachers and bus centers, bus or high school teachers like this. And middle school.
and although the middle school. Mentoring minds, so all our middle school teachers, certain number of documents, one of them is like an advisor, and it's like sitting there and they can work, but it's not really, the math teachers are not doing that.
I wrote one of those.
Oh, you mean teachers? Oh, okay,
and the rest out. So those are the social workers.
So none of you are funded from one anymore? Is that no?
And then the case managers are funded from one.
None of yours are one. So one I know. And that would include like all the oh, okay, yeah. We don't need to retirement, they're like from what they call natural attrition. So, always find on the bench of another team. It's not, everybody knows mine.
it's another conference. Not really, but.
Yes, but.
So every middle school teacher has 8 classes.
Until we open it
7 of
as a
them,
new
well,
campus.
8 classes, one of them is a conference. And 6 of them are gonna be regular classes, and the other one is going to be more of
I created
study
a
skills.
I embedded it into the master schedule, and then AMS adopted.
So she created one. By the time I inherited her, I was the principal running the hallways. The kids were all over the place, coloring things and going to the cafeteria earlier. It became chaos for me and keep them indoors because I'm on top of my work. So
But if every single teacher is required to have a mentoring time conference, then it's not costing us.
So not required, but what we would do is instead of you having like six math classes, one midterm, you're gonna have 7 math classes.
And that's why you're saying, get rid of PLC.
That's for the high school. For high school, they have 2 conference periods, we will pick one.
But how is that saving us money?
So you're gonna have leftover sections, right? So you take, for example, CMS has 40 teachers that teach their classes. About 35 of them have a matrix. So you have 35 sections, every teacher has 6 sections, so about 6 teachers classes, because you have more classes to teach.
Now, let me tell you what you can do to prevent your noise.
But it's not teachers that are going to be
Teachers that will have to be reassigned.
reassigned. And so the PLC.
At the high school, it's gonna be 4. So when you remove the.
So it's like, I still can't fathom how you're not getting the money. Is it, why do you need it? Okay, what is the PLC? The rate of let's do the plan. But that's not the job. You're not paying the extra. So how is this saving?
You gotta keep in mind that it's all being very connected, particularly in our middle school. You're gonna give me 45 minutes uninterrupted, 10 days and 2-week period where I'm going to bring the presentation. So those 45 minutes, you're gonna be planned, you can call on the phone, you can sit and stay.
That's your conference.
We can't mandate it. So on the other conference period, that's where Dr. Adams and people by the way, they were the design that is doing the testing. That don't be more structured.
Because the law says,
and we have to be 450 minutes.
Yeah, but
How you gonna say it?
But my point is, okay, my conference period, I have 45 minutes. What I do with that is, if on one of those conferences, my grade decides, okay, let's say, how much do you have to do that? So one of those conferences, the first 15, 20 minutes, whatever, you sit, well, yes, I know. So then, the CLC, the way, okay, so we did our conference, I did my grading, I did my copies, whatever, I did. Then we would meet once a week for CLC. Well, hold on. We would meet once a week, and we would look at it. No, we would look at it. Why do they have to meet every day? So again, my point is, by doing this PLC once a week or every day, you're not paying additional teachers, you're not paying because you're already
But you're freeing up time for them to teach another class.
So we can add sections.
So we'll add more classes. So, for example, if it frees up all of us here,
So that's what I'm saying.
talking about another teacher right here, that you don't need, because everybody gets another.
This is just mine and then they get around. What would they go? So by eliminating the mandatory on that.
And you have data that says that that's exactly what
They have to.
Yes, because they have agendas that
And I will tell you, they don't love it. So, exactly, so they're meeting with people who are not even in the first, they're trying to plan something that.
So right now, if you're a high school teacher, we call it 6 of 8. So there's 8 periods that they can only teach.
That's my only one that
For non-sport, they will become 7 periods. And you get paid for teachers because that extra section, when you account for every non-sport teacher at the high school, it's going to have less needs of teachers. So you're going to lose four teachers that you have now because you're adding another class. If you were to also do it to the core, it would be about 4, but the data doesn't really support that. You guys were mentioning Dayton, so Dayton does that. Dayton has persistently been rated 72 and a native recovery. So you see that although their physical report card, they got a 99 1 year and above.
The music is good. I give them a good analogy of the music, they're good. So
Well, I support the Alliance.
Yes,
I support this, and I think this dollar model, I think that's. Yes, I have it, so I need to, I'm tired of hearing it. You're willing, so we're like, my loan star I honestly would like to see it. So will you, 3 hours? You want to sponsor? 7 LENs, but I also would like to see the numbers for 3 RNs. 2 to 3 RNs.
Where they stand up and
At this point, we do not have any substitutes.
4 RNs. 3, I would say 2. 3 possibly. I would like to see what one first. Yeah, I'm glad that you all, that you all, is it work on everything?
It is my understanding that when an
No, in Montessori. Yes, that's why I'm saying, I don't think one person. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. Everything, all paperwork. Like this.
I have 2 RNs. Well, not enough, but I see it. And one of the director, one exactly does exactly that. She's not fighting with it, she just Yes. Yes, they just can't make the administrative reports. Yes, I would ask.
Yes. So I'm sorry.
They're advanced.
That's a yes.
Well, yes, 3 is one yes.
No, Montessori is no. So you gotta vote on. Yeah, those are the only 2 other answers, yes, and no.
Gotcha.
We only have 2 Where are those answers? We don't have a meeting.
That's why
And the Montessori, they have maybe I don't want to wrap and maybe
I didn't take it off the table. I'm on the fence.
So in the middle school, when I was in the middle school principal, we were coming into agreement. We were gonna have our kids meet all the institutions in 11th grade. And we were gonna do the we were gonna go to the last year, either level. As soon as they graduate, give them my and then all of those. However, it never really materialized. So as it didn't materialize, it finished requirement of 9th grade and they're not enrolled in the science. They kind of just either take any or not find it. So that's why it's not really working like the original. Yeah, I mean, the intent was great.
So what was the modifier saying?
So they won't be keeping that.
Well, what it says is that it's going to be, same as
I'm not sure, because I feel like very, like, right now, it was,
But then,
it was at the coffee shops, their espressos. At the coffee shops. I don't know if it's all the time, but you know what, it was the weirdest thing, because I can speak Portuguese, because I speak Spanish, but I could not follow.
In my opinion,
Like, what are these things? No, still articles of general education.
that way she'll have like
so, this is
cheap right now.
So the 6 is at all campuses. We need to leave
I always want to come home.
and
That's what I do. Enrollment is, but there's a lot of social worker,
yeah, so.
But go, that wasn't mentioned. Yeah, take your wife.
Oh, okay, so that's we can hand it everybody. These are some that they've been putting it on their bill. They already know the requirements or we don't need
heard.
I know it's somewhere, I know it's not, I've written it.
I just think about the kids that are gonna have kids that are gonna be there, but they're gonna go back and forth in 2 years. Yeah, but a lot of these kids are not. I have questions in regards to the staffing, so I am for PPE. That's it. But I feel like this is a district issue, this is the DDE, right? The DDE is not being. Like that's, and I feel like those teachers, those staff members, they're where this is a district issue. So if you have teachers that are in the same
Instead of 3, two meetings, but one from the
I have an additional question that for, do we have teachers who are on?
the number one is
And Kevin, we never, and I feel like we never go back and test for everyone. We have teachers that are currently on an improvement plan that aren't improving the way that we want them to, because those teachers should be put on the top block for master teachers that are equally just because they're on.
So if you approve the
You know that it's, but do you understand what I'm saying? We're all in this together, so it shouldn't just be that person, it shouldn't just be those cafeteria people, it should just be those.
So is your, so can we take that, because that's part of the, what is that called again? And you're gonna have that, but what's the name of that?
Well, that's not our choice, that's them to look at, but that would be.
That would be a suggestion.
No,
Look at last year's.
So it's up to us to tell them, make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Yes, we'll follow policies, but we're looking at not just the staff, we're looking at the district as a whole. And these are the parameters we'll see.
And the same thing with and basic teachers. We need to look at those who are not performing, and those it's not our choice.
Oh, yeah, so
Special classes, you have about.
as far as like this, it's because here's what I've been doing for the last 8 years.
We're in the national church camp.
Church, I want to get any questions.
And also, if you want to put it maybe also.
I mean, it's, well, when you're a small district, whatever. It's a lot of work. But, I mean, it's work itself.
And then the numbers go.
Okay, let's go. Because I worked out that all
we all have
You guys done? So, y'all want to...
where near you.
The opportunity.
Thank you for that help. We don't have to hear.
I'm quite the pro at it. Yeah.
So we go this way?
You can go that way. Because these are all
Okay.
You can.
You don't have to vote.
Yes, they got the same. Yes.
Oh,
This one's for Miles, and this one
What's happening?
But I need to check.
What is the amount?
I know what they have to do here on the.
You guys said yours is the table? You guys said yours is the table?
Yes.
So.
You know what? I want to put that down for
I did not want to with this one.
What?
Because I talked to Marty over this, this is gonna work if we do this and they'll get some money.
It was gonna change.
Yeah. No, I'm talking the music.
Yes.
Oh, you have it over there. Oh.
So this is not.
Oh, I see.
It doesn't say, but it just.
I was wondering why you said that. When
But it says that the council.
that long.
That's what we heard. Where would it go?
Tell us.
So how are we gonna do
So I have
this?
questions. Because he said they're not teachers. We were told that they would be.
So, but tell me, how is it going to
That was, but is that with the Lone Star?
Oh, they came out and signed up to their
There wasn't like that kind of with the and that's why, but I really
That's the whole work.
absolutely because of that, because the accident with the baby. And then Diana Davenport, I think we'll be back to everybody else.
That's the one I'm struggling with. I don't, these two, I'm for sure. The rest of them, or not that.
You want to explain that? The nurse zero second?
Because the thing is, when you're on about this yesterday, Monday, when you go to the doctor, sometimes the nurse is better than the doctor. I'm in my enfermera, and I spend a lot of time with doctors, and they're gonna coach us, and we had both a
the LBS system? Well, that's what.
And LBS are good. It's good. I don't think that LBS is great. I just think certification and wisdom. That's a good question.
And when will have
So if they were to have a epileptic, make an
Oh, heck yeah. She on the elbow, get ready for her. Now, she had a whole,
Yeah, are you all ready to sit down? Okay. Y'all can have a seat real quick.
You know what I mean? She know how to deal with it. If somebody's in diabetic, whatever, you know. One American that would cover it if we wouldn't get sued. My only concern. Okay.
Thank you very much. Again, this exercise was really just to bring dialogue and to really think on how we're going to address this. I heard a lot of dialogue from every table. There's very in-depth, and you all talked about the unintended consequences, the good, the bad, and the ugly of every decision. And it's not an easy decision. So we're going to compile all this information, and then I will meet and probably talk to you all individually. But I'll meet with the board officers on Thursday, because next week we have a board meeting, and see what we're going to bring on Tuesday. But I'll talk to you all individually as board members to get your thoughts. So again, it's collective.
If I may,
Yes.
Dr. B, so some of the things that we wanted more information on that I think is important for our either yes decision or our maybes turning into yeses or nos, specifically for the nurses. So I don't think it's reasonable for one RN to oversee 10 LVNs. If they have to attend every ARD meeting, 504 meeting, write all of the plans, there's no way. There's no way that a RN is going to be willing to put their certification on the line and be spread that thin.
Their license.
That's yes, their license on the line. So what we discussed is we would like to reevaluate those numbers. And I know it would affect, the amount that we're talking about. But instead of one RN for those 10, what would it look like if we did 3 RNs for those 10 LVNs? Okay. So we would have 3 people to cover those, or the 3 RNs to cover 7 to 8 LVNs, meaning they're at a campus, but they're also helping to oversee an LVN at another campus.
Okay.
So that we're not asking somebody to do something that's not realistic. I don't think that's a realistic goal.
So we're looking at some of those three RNs at 3 different campuses, and the rest of them will have LVNs?
Correct, and so then those RNs that are at those 3 campuses would oversee specific LVNs at other campuses, do their paperwork, attend their ARDs, so on and so forth. Or, personally, I would like to see those RNs overseeing and kind of rotating between those campuses and having a stationary LVN at every campus. So it would be 10 LVNs plus 2 to 3 RNs that are sharing the paperwork and ARDs.
Your model that you're proposing is 3 RNs and 7 LVNs for 10 campuses. For coverage of the district, or schools.
Or, because I want to see both numbers. 3 RNs with 7 LVNs, or 3 RNs that oversee 10 LVNs.
Okay.
Can we see that also with 2 RNs?
Yes.
Because I think in that model,
yes,
if they're overseeing 2 RNs with 10 LVNs as well, because I was talking to Carolina and she brought up some good points in this, is that we don't want to get stuck in a pickle that's going to cost us a lot more in a lawsuit or something later. Yeah. And I like if we do the 2 or 3 RNs and 7 LVNs, I would like to see the RNs rotating, not
Yes.
just stationary at one campus. It's like a doctor, they go to, different hospitals, they don't just go to one.
Well, and for example, if that RN has an ARD meeting at DDE one day, then the DDE LVN would go and fill in at the campus that she's
Correct.
supposed to be in for
Yeah.
things of that
Correct.
sort. Those
Okay.
are plans that we can look at.
Yes.
So with this, are we still looking at having a nurse coordinator?
No.
No.
Okay.
So my thought process, is everything that, was a yes from everybody, unless there was some no's, bringing that to the March meeting. I think there's a lot more questions, because there's stuff that we could be creative on, some of, like you talked about LVNs, but some of us have conversations in regards to the elementary music teacher, how would that look? So whatever wasn't, I say, let's bring the clean slate of what the three, of us, the three tables came together. Let's put that in the March meeting, and then we'll have a conversation. We could probably do it in that April meeting, to sit down and sort of have this conversation, and then we could probably have that.
But if you do it in the April meeting, isn't that too late?
No.
No? We're still
Can I
good?
give?
It's like 8 days after.
I thought, yeah, because I thought legal counsel had not recommended us going past the March.
Well, it was also brought up
So
by,
March 25th. We'll have to make some decisions.
That's correct.
it was
Can
also, go ahead.
Can I just wanna give, and, you know, for whatever it's worth, but I think it gave my colleagues some clarity on the music teachers, elementary, because this is elementary music. And I believe me, I'm a huge proponent of the arts, fine arts, and I aged myself. But, even as far, I started teaching in the 90s, but, when I was an elementary school principal, brand new one at Helen Ball, there were no music teachers. That was not at elementary. It was in our TEKS. As a matter of fact, they're still in our TEKS. It is the teacher's responsibility to teach music with math, with reading, with science. It's hard. It is hard to do that. When I spoke to Marty Olivas, who is kind of helping with all of this restructuring, the way that he explained it is, you know, we're willing to meet you halfway. Instead of 6, there's 3, and they're gonna be like, kind of like the concept that you have with the RNs, overseeing the music program at the elementaries, making sure one music teacher is assigned to 2 elementaries, which is doable, because I promise you right now, one music teacher, if you want a full-blown fine arts department, one music teacher at an elementary isn't seeing all the kids every day. I mean, if they're lucky, they see them once a week, if they're lucky. So I think that Marty, because Marty, if you all know him, he's an icon here in this city on the arts, and he feels like they could really make it work with staff development. He's been working with, I can't remember the gentleman's name at the high school, where we don't lose the fine arts, but at the same time, we meet halfway. Where we're not taking out the fine arts, because I don't think that we should, but we're also meeting them halfway, and he feels like it can really work, and where we're still developing the kids in elementary, they're learning the music, there's a rotation system, and plus we're also putting some of that responsibility back on the teachers, but in a fun way, because kids learn how to read. We know this for a fact. It's factual. Those of you that are teachers over there, kids learn to read when music is involved. So we can put that into our curriculum, but a lot of teachers don't know how to do that. Us old school ones do, but the new ones don't. But that's what Marty says these teachers would do. So that's why I am in favor of the music, because it's not all or nothing. We're just taking a little slice off. Anyway, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on that, because this is something that's been new, that's brought on later in life.
What we'll do is we'll take everybody's suggestion, and then we'll make sure that March, April, that legal knows what we're doing, and he blesses it. And then I will call you individually to let you know what legal said, just so we can set up, because next week is already March 15th. And that was the reason why we had this meeting, so we could have this discussion. So when we go into March, and, you know, again, there's no vote taken here, but a suggestion out loud was taking everybody's yeses, that was a yes, to the March, and then looking at the maybes and looking at the different models,
I've heard.
And giving us the information that we
Yes,
requested?
yes, and then we can.
For March?
Yes.
Okay. Plus what we.
Yes.
Can I make a suggestion that if we're gonna do March, that if we're gonna go into April, we're doing March for sure, but if we go into April, that we do it maybe that first week, it might be the following week?
We have a scheduled meeting for the.
8th, I think it is.
Yeah.
The 6th?
That was the bond update.
Yeah,
There's a bond update.
so we can put it at that one.
But
We could
again,
have,
I'd rather it
workshop.
be by itself.
okay, go ahead.
Dr. Galaviz, your deficit is 6.2 million. I mean, the average of these two tables is 4.5. What's next?
Great question. That's where we come in tomorrow morning and 4.5 minus 6 point, or 5 point, whatever, and then that's what the board's gonna adopt. You're gonna have to take it from fund balance. So whatever you adopt, that's what you're gonna borrow from for fund balance. And that will reduce the days, maybe not 41 days, but it's gonna reduce it.
Also by next month, we'll get some figures on the sale of the land right next to Jose Damian.
Again, that's closed.
Okay, but
Yeah.
it is something,
In April, because again,
something to consider, right?
to your idea, we're gonna open it up and close
Okay.
the sealed bids, and that way we all see it at the same time.
Correct, so it is something that we might
Yes.
consider. Okay.
But that's one-time money
That is
versus.
correct, and I do agree that we might have to tackle this problem again next year.
well, and the elephant in the room is there's a legislative session. But we can't rely on that like we did last year.
It's a big fat elephant.
I feel like we're
I
gonna
don't
have
see
that
it, though.
elephant every 2 years, unfortunately. Somewhere. And if I may, just to remind, one thing that actually helped me with the campus reorganization and restructuring, at first I thought, that's so vague, what does that mean? So in case the rest of you weren't told, it looks like those are the positions that those people have already agreed to retire or resign for next year, so those are just gonna be positions that we're not filling.
Yes,
So that helped me feel good that they weren't people affected. And then lastly, one thing that we talked with, Dr. Galaviz about for Davenport, the only way that personally, I'm just gonna speak for myself, the only way that I would be okay with that is if we have very specific guidelines for how the people are chosen that are leaving, and not just the people at Davenport. I was explaining to them, and everybody was standing here, all the people at Davenport feel like their heads are always the ones on the chopping block, and that's not okay. Because it's not a Davenport issue. They're not the, stepchild that's being put in the corner and they're the ones that are always getting in trouble, right? This is a district-wide issue. And so therefore, district-wide, we're looking at an elementary campus, all of our elementary teachers should be considered for the positions that are going to be let go. Because if we have teachers at any other campus that are on improvement plans or less than satisfactory on their TEAS test, things of that sort, why are we gonna keep that teacher and then let go of the master teacher at Davenport? So
100%.
this is a district-wide thing. We need to face it as a district, and we need to make sure that we are keeping our master high-level teachers regardless of what campus they're
Isn't
on.
that what the RIF does though? It protects us.
He said that we get to set those
Well, there's a
guidelines.
policy.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
So I wanna make sure those guidelines are in place.
So, having said that, there's a lot of work that needs to get done after the board gives directive and makes decisions. You're
So hurry
waiting
up.
until April, and I've got to.
No, Martha. What we're recommending, and I'm on board with everything that she says. What we're recommending, if you don't have your T-test results for this year, let's look at T-test from last year.
That's correct, but the recommendation is I'm gonna be looking at district-wide. That's gonna take me time.
No, you're gonna look at Children's and Davenport.
No.
No, right? District.
No.
She
We have
wants-
6 elementary schools.
The one at Garcia, every teacher
Because
is gonna be.
that's
looking.
how a RIF
And
works.
so look at the number of the work and deadline to issue contracts, that works not gonna get done.
Well, I mean, just to add to that, can we add in our principals? Our principals should know what teachers at their campus are on an improvement plan. So how long would it take to reach out to our principals and say, I need a list of who's on an improvement plan and what's happening?
We're gonna follow.
And we know that already, but to be fair and to make sure that we are doing everything right, as Mr. Blanco has said, he wants to make sure that we've crossed our T's and dotted our I's in case there's litigation.
Yeah.
So we've got to be,
Yes.
HR has got to be involved and not just the principals doing it on their own.
Definitely.
Then let's use the staff that we have already, Martha, in your department. Let's use all the staff that you have
We'll
in
get
your
it done.
department.
We'll get it done.
So, to get it done.
How much time do you need to really put everything together, get all these contracts for everything to decide? 2 weeks?
No, we can't.
What is it, 2 weeks?
I need about, ideally, 3 weeks we may be able to do it, because we've got to
If we
not
give
only
you 2
do
weeks, if we give you 2 weeks, will you be able to do it?
I can do it, but also remember that we need to notify, give proper notice to those employees. And so that also will take time because we've got to bring them in, we've got to let them know.
Agree 100%, it's just being respectful for their position and all this
That's
kind of thing. Yeah, so, if we were to make a decision, when is our board meeting in April? April 8th. So if we were to make a decision in April 8th, are you okay with that?
I think we,
Or not?
I would prefer tearing it off. Like I said, we've already had an agreement, like pretty much, and if staff could go over, because I think it's best for transparency, to go over each one. There's a lot that we agree on.
Yes.
We could bring that in March, and then that way they could start working on those contracts, and if it's T-test, if it's that, whatever, you need to go to private lip, right? We wanna make sure we pick the highly qualified teachers, the best ones in the classroom. How that looks like, that's up to HR.
So we can
But-
keep the Davenport one on
Well,
the
that
side
would be
and
separate. So the thing is, on the March meeting, she would already have some work to get done. Then on April, we come back, and then we have that conversation on the ones that are maybes, and then the ones that are no's.
Okay.
That's my recommendation.
Now, Martha, what do you think, you're okay?
So March would be the first tranche, or the first, which everybody agrees on. And then April 8th, we would look at the ones we're still having questions about. So for ours, do you wanna go over? Go ahead.
No, we're not gonna do that.
Huh?
No, we're not gonna do that. We're just we're gonna compile it all, and then that way, we're gonna bring it back. So, next item?
Item number 4, meeting adjournment, time is 7:49 p.m.
There is community members on that.
Dr. But
Open forum.
not this approval. So she can start looking at what we're asking until we.
Meeting's adjourned.
No, I adjourned the meeting.
Yeah, I just adjourned it.
Is there any other questions? If not,
Can I ask a question?
go ahead.
My question is, so we're asking Ms. Carrasco to give us information specifically about the guidelines for the cutting of teachers using T-test.
So that one is DFFB, and the first qualification is gonna be certification. That's by policy. The
Yes.
second one is gonna be T-test. The third one is gonna be, the superintendent's recommendation. 4 is if they have extra duties. 5, professional background, education and work experience related to current or projected assignments. And then lastly, seniority.
So,
There's a policy.
on the staff that you are recommending to be cut, if they are any kind of staff, right? Any kind of staff? Have to follow, or only exempt? Have to follow this policy, and you have to follow these guidelines. Correct?
That's correct. And that's for, more so for exempt staff.
I'm sorry?
I said more so for exempt staff, certified positions.
Does that
As you
clarify?
see, the first one refers to certification.
Does that clarify
That
that?
doesn't necessarily apply to hourly staff.
Yeah, it's just exempt staff, we got that. Is
Well,
that-
yes, but the first one says qualifications for current or projected assignment, certification, multiple or composite certifications, bilingual certification, license endorsement, and or specialized or advanced content-specific training. This does not answer the question that Ms. Barnes and I have. What we're saying is, we need to look at all the teachers, and we specifically want to know the results of the T-test. That has to be a basis of the evaluation, because, okay, they're certified, they're licensed, but they scored poorly on their evaluation. And we're keeping that person because they're certified and versus one who is certified, who has bilingual certification, whatever, who is at master's. And we're cutting that person.
But then
No, that's not what we
that
want.
becomes an issue of the appraiser, not necessarily. If you're appraising someone that is mastering that area, then you leave that alone, because it's usually the masters we don't touch because of TF as well. So we need to, there's two parts to it. One thing is the contract, which is one probationary contract or a term contract. That's another issue on itself. The legal counsel has told us not to move forward with identifying those without the board directing us to do so.
What we're asking is, we don't want only the teachers and staff at Deanna Davenport. If we decide to close Deanna Davenport, we don't want just those people on the cutting board. We want to look at it elsewhere, because if you have another teacher who is not performing well on another campus, then we need to get rid of that teacher and keep the one that is performing, that is doing their duty.
Now, in regards to the timeline, so you are not allowed to start looking at those particular qualifications until after we have voted on the RIF, is that what you were saying?
What, because if we're looking at combining the two campuses, that requires a reduction in force. Because every year we look at campuses and we look at teachers that are not performing, and we'll put them for non-renewal.
But I'm just saying, you made it seem, and I may have misunderstood, that she wasn't, HR was not allowed to start going and evaluating who those people would be until we have voted on the RIF, is that correct?
For Davenport specifically, yes. But the other campuses, no. That
Well,
could be-
if we're doing campus, if we're doing district-wide, then why does it matter?
Okay, it is a tremendous amount of work, and I'm saying we'll do it, my staff will do it. However, if we do all this work, take these 2 weeks to do all this work, we have it ready to go. Board says, no, we're not doing anything with Davenport. We just expended a lot of time and effort on something when we have a lot of other things that are going on. I mean, we still have to prepare for contracts to be issued district-wide. There's a lot of things right now, it's the busy season for HR. So yes, we'll do the work. And yes, I can guarantee you that if Diana Davenport closes, that most of those teachers will be placed.
And that's why I rather wait, because that's gonna be a conversation in its own, and that's why that should go to the April meeting. Because, I mean, it's mixed, mine and you, I mean, there's several, you know, it's gonna have a heavy discussion, and we're still, so I think we'll have enough time. That will be on the April 8th versus any others that might have more questions.
But personally, I do agree with your concept of following and selecting the teachers that will be staying. I think it's critical. That's important to us. It's important to our kids, and it's important to our district. Yes.
So what if we have a meeting next week, the 25th? That's when you're gonna compile all this information from the 3 tables, and you're gonna come up and say, this is where it is.
This is what
you all voted on, or
Yes.
or would you
These
all
were all the
agree?
yeses.
These are the yeses, this is a maybe,
Yeah.
this is the no.
But I really wanna bring the yeses.
The yeses.
Okay.
The yeses.
So
That way
once
we
we
can
do
get
that, if Deanna Davenport is on there as a yes, then you get started with what we're requesting, and you will be able to have it ready by April 8th.
No, I would recommend My recommendation as setting the agenda is to put all the yeses that compile the information. Then what we would have is an update mini workshop with some of the questions on the LVN, some on the fine arts, some of the other ones that nobody was in agreement. We could have that discussion at that meeting, and then we could bring it to the April 8th meeting.
But if we bring it to the April 8th meeting, where that's where we say, okay, yes, Deanna Davenport is closing. Let's just say, scenario. Then, if Ms. Carrasco, HR needs 2 weeks, you're looking now at what, April 15th?
We're gonna meet with legal and then get an update to get that exact date. Because we did this way later in the year last time. We did this.
We're ahead of you. Well, not.
Yeah.
We're further ahead of that.
So, I think the April 8th would allow, depending, because what if it's a no for Deanna Davenport?
Well, then if it's a no, that's done. She
Yeah.
doesn't have to do the work. But that's what I'm saying. What if it's a yes?
Yeah.
We are not going to say, we're not going to agree, at least I'm not, until you give me this information that I'm asking for.
Yeah, because I can tell you my personal stance, it will be a no unless these are the staffing qualifications that we follow. Because it's not fair to our teachers and our staff at Deanna Davenport.
And my personal opinion, and my personal stance is that it's a no either way. So,
exactly.
I mean, that's why we did a lot of great work, and I thank everybody that was part of it, especially staff. I know this is critical, tough times that we're in, and we're dealing with human souls, and it's something tough to do in our community. And I don't take that lightly, but I think what we need to do, we have some consensus. Let's bring that to the next board meeting, and then we'll continue to do the work that needs to get done so we can balance this budget.
My suggestion would be that we continue with March 25th's meeting with the consensus of what you gathered here. Whatever you compile here, you present it to us with whatever, if possible,
And we're on
information.
consensus.
Hold on. Okay, so that would be March 25th. Right then, we're going to know if it's a yes or no. Yes, no for this, yes, no for that. If it's a yes, and if it happens to be Deanna Davenport on there, then we direct Ms. Carrasco to get us the information that we're requesting for April 8th. We're having a meeting on April 8th, correct? That would be my recommendation.
But if we split,
But that would only give her
a week. That's why I'm
2
saying.
What?
No, from the 25th through the 8th, that's 2 weeks.
Oh, it is 2 weeks. You're right.
It's 2 weeks.
You're right.
She said she needed 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks.
No, she said she needed 3 weeks. I said, can we do it in 2 weeks?
Okay, well, we cut it
The thing
to
is,
2.
if we have action items on the stuff that's gonna get muddy, then it's gonna, let's go with the clean stuff so we could have a clean vote and get that going. And then the stuff that will get muddy will be on the April 8th meeting. We'll talk to legal and then get all that, but it gives us more time instead of trying to muddy everything up and then
Why don't we vote, why don't we approve for the things that we agree on and then discuss the things that we don't?
that's what I-
That day,
But why don't we
the
discuss
25th,
it?
why wait till the 8th?
Martha, for HR, would you guys prefer to have what we're looking at doing for DDE on the 25th?
Yes, what we would like is what Ms. Ortega recommended.
we vote
Everything be on
clear.
there.
Uh-huh.
Everything be on there like last year. And then the board said, yes, 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 yes. And then, that way everything's on there.
I think it would be important to, all the stuff that we said yes with, that should be consent. These are all things that the board as a whole already
as a
agreed
one
upon,
item.
one and done. And then the other ones we can discuss and vote that
Yes.
night. That
I
way,
think we're all in
you
agreement.
have more time
Yeah.
to
We need to
prepare.
vote, yeah.
We need to
Yeah,
vote on the
that-
25th.
that-
There's some things on
No,
here that
there's-
we need to vote and then to just get it done.
Yes.
Because
But I
it's
think
not
we
fair
need to
to
vote
them,
on
it's
it.
not fair to the employee either, whether they're a good
Absolutely.
teacher or
I
not,
don't
I mean,
wanna
they
wait.
need a job.
I agree, put it all on there, we'll put all the yeses, maybes and the
And then the-
no's,
yes.
and then.
By waiting till the 8th, you're just procrastinating.
Yeah.
If
I
I'm
agree.
not gonna be, if I need to know yesterday if I'm still gonna have a job.
Correct.
Because I need to go out and look. And right now is the time that districts are looking at, oh, I'm having a retiree here, whatever, I need this position. So you're procrastinating.
Sure.
And that's not fair to the employees.
I'm not procrastinating. What I was trying to make sure is we have more time to discuss the ones that we do have questions, because we do have a lot more questions.
Well, next week when
Sort
they
of-
present it,
Sort
they're
of
going
like how
to
we
do
did
it.
today. I think this was meaningful in how we did it. And it allowed us to get to some point, and we're gonna have a lot more questions on the other one, and it'll allow us to get to another point. But I don't have a problem either way. I was just trying to make it more streamlined and clean.
So can there be a consensus that we meet on the 25th, they compile the information,
Right
we
now,
vote?
right now, in this meeting, there is no,
Yeah.
there is no vote, whatever.
Okay,
We will
that's my
call you
suggestion
tomorrow
still.
and figure out how we're gonna go through this.
But the Tuesday board meeting, we're voting on
Yes.
some.
You know, on everything that we voted for.
Yeah, okay. I think we should have the names of the notes on there too.
So we're gonna be on this.
Bless you.
Next item. Next item.
Item number 4, meeting adjournment, time is 8:02 p.m.